Palantir and Tesla. It's a buy one, get one free in this one here today, folks. Two videos for me to react to. First one up here. I recorded this for you guys. It was on closing bell overtime here today, and I was like, oh, I got to react to this one. A gentleman that's very, very knowledgeable around Palantir gives his perspectives and opinions around Palantir's earnings here today and kind of what they got going on. I thought I would share my perspectives and opinions on what he has to say. And then I want to react to this one, Gary Black, on kind of what's going on with Tesla. Nothing about Tesla's normal. Obviously, the CFO departure here today, so Tesla was in the news for that. So I want to react to that, kind of hear what he has to say, and then share my perspective. So appreciate everybody joining me. As always, just want to jump straight into this. Thank you, everybody. Subscribe to the channel. We are now at, gosh, I think it's getting really, really close to 33,000 subscribers on the channel. So I appreciate y'all being here as always, and let's jump into it.
And Palantir shares are in the red, down about 5% right now after reporting results that were in line with estimates. Full year guidance was above estimates. The company also...
Palantir did just come back as the after hours trading went on. Essentially, it went to under $16, and then I think it finished out at around, I want to say like $18.50-ish, somewhere around there. So it did finish green.
Saying $1 billion share buyback plan. But joining us now is Founders Fund partner and an early Palantir employee, Trey Stevens. Trey, it's great to have you on the show.
Good to see you, Morgan. How's it going?
Great. So much to talk to you about, but let's start with Palantir here, because it really seems like the bright spots last quarter were U.S. commercial and also international government in terms of revenue growth. But this is really a company that's just posted a third consecutive quarter of profitability. And perhaps the biggest story here is the artificial intelligence platform, which speaks to all the generative AI discussions and investments and opportunities that we've been talking about day in, day out on CNBC. But where Palantir is concerned, you're talking about it in real time with sensitive data and government contracts.
That's right. Yeah. AIP is Palantir's fourth platform. Obviously, the original product was called Gotham, and then they added Foundry and Apollo to that, the artificial intelligence platform being the most recent. It's really important to address the core problems of large enterprises, which is really enabling these large language models that have grown in popularity to run on private networks, on private data. The safe handoff between existing legacy systems that are already in use by the enterprise, as well as the enterprise-grade governance that's required to make that stuff work in a secure way, is something that Palantir is really uniquely suited to provide, and has been kind of the MO of what they've been working on since they were originally founded.
Yeah, I mean, Palantir is publicly traded, but you're...
By the way, sometimes people ask me, is it worth having after-hours trading enabled on your brokerage account, okay? Because obviously you set up any brokerage account, you can obviously buy stocks, sell stocks during the trading hours, but what about after hours, okay? My opinion on that is it does make sense if you're somebody that wants to engage in any after-hours buys and sells. And the reason being is it doesn't even have to be from a trader perspective. A lot of times people think, the only way it makes sense to buy after hours is if you're a trader. Not true. Let's say you're a long-term investor, right? And let's say you wanted to, you're like, if I can get Palantir under $17, I'm taking that deal, okay? So Palantir opens after hours, it's 15 something, then it's 16 something, right? Boom, if you have after hours trading enabled, obviously you could have bought right then and there, right? Now the stock's 18 plus, in just in a very quick amount of time, you already made a very nice profit. Now your let's call it goal might not be to sell that tomorrow and take that quick profit, but the great news is you just got that stock for very cheap, and tomorrow and during the trading day, there's a high probability you're not getting it that cheap, right? A high probability tomorrow during the trading days, trading, we can call it anywhere between $18 and $19 maybe. So therefore, you weren't able to get it at $15.98, or you weren't able to get it at $16.05 or $16.10 or something like that, which is a pretty significant difference between $16 and paying $18 for a stock, right? So in many cases, it does make sense to have after hours enabled because you get to pick up some pretty extraordinary opportunities like what was given there with Palantir.
The co-founder and chairman of Anduril, which is private, at least for now, but is another name that's been growing very strongly, has a strong valuation in the private markets. I mean, is defense tech having its moment right now, given some of these AI applications, but also given the geopolitical landscape?
Well, I think Anduril is in a unique position that we kind of got to ride on the shoulders of giants. We learned so much from the experiences at SpaceX and at Palantir that we were kind of in a pole position to run really fast with those lessons. I think since 2017, when we originally started Anduril, there's certainly been a lot of additional momentum piling into the defense tech industry. Some of that is related to the government being a kind of recession resilient customer in the midst of a minor economic situation, as we're all tracking. But also the geopolitical realization with the war in Russia, between Russia and Ukraine, as well as increased tensions with China. So I think there's an opportunity that a lot of people are seizing on, that they believe that there's something really real that might be worth checking out. I'm cautiously optimistic, given that this all relies on the government having a behavioral change around the way that they treat the transition of pilots and prototypes, research and development projects, and production, which is still.
By the way, once I saw once it hit like down 3%, I was like, it's going green. As soon as I saw that today, I was like, it's going green. Like, way too much momentum starting to come in that baby.
Lagging the market on the private side.
Yeah, and what you just said is really key here, because when we're talking about some of these companies that are quote unquote dual use technology, I think investors, at least in the public markets, can understand commercial applications when a Palantir says that it's growing by double digits, for example, last quarter. But the defense piece of it, it's that you hear about it in defense circles a lot, the valley of death. Is policy building that bridge to get over the valley of death for some of these startups right now that are winning some of these early contracts or some of these early development awards, but then still need to grow and still need to see those revenues in a more sustainable way?
Policy is maybe not the exact part of it. It's not the exact problem. There are a lot of ways that you could change law, that you can move things around to make the transition easier. Most of this is going to be behavioral and cultural, though. Decision making to get new entrants into the market. We shouldn't forget that it took a long time for Palantir and SpaceX to finally hit their stride into production. Obviously, things are going really well now. And really, those are two companies that went government first and then transitioned into commercial. And it's a really unique motion. I'm not surprised by Palantir's continued dominance on the commercial side of things, showing over 20% growth, closer to like 40% growth if you take the SPAC side of the things out of it. So they've really been crushing on that front. And I think a lot of that is from building a real enterprise grade product, working with the government over the last, decade plus. And so this is, kind of the experience that we expect to see at Anduril, that we're looking to see from our other portfolio companies that are working in the defense sector, like figuring out how you can go in, have a real impact on a production level, and shift the culture of the government towards the new entrants that have the ability to build the capabilities that will be required for the future.
So let's expand this out a little bit. How would you assess the startup landscape right now more broadly and the funding ecosystem? Is it still bifurcated? We've been hearing it's AI and kind of nothing else. Is that the case?
That's not too far off. Yeah, I think things are still pretty slow in the private markets.
That's interesting. Things are still slow in the private markets. Okay.
AI hype cycle continues to generate momentum. We should keep in mind that, AI, unlike prior tech epics, is probably more centralized, almost definitionally, than a lot of these other movements, because of the requirements behind compute, the requirements behind money that you can spend on developing the models and running the models on these compute clusters. And so there is a bit of an advantage that's ceded to organizations like Microsoft plus OpenAI, obviously, or Google, or even NVIDIA on the hardware side of things. And so it might not kind of play out in the same way that you would expect to see things from, the internet boom or anything like that. But saying that you're investing in AI today is really a lot like saying that you're investing in the internet in the early 2000s. The question is less about the core technology. It's really more about what the application is that you're building and how that's relevant and why these larger players are not going to be making a run at that space. As you know, with Founders Fund, our goal is to try to avoid these hype cycles to the extent possible and focus on the core applications that are going to move the needle. So, there's some discipline that's required as that hype cycle continues to build speed.
All right. Trey Stevens.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to touch on an important subject there. The gentleman saying that the private market continues to be in a slower state, right? Now, this matters significantly because you got to understand, so much innovation has come out of Silicon Valley, obviously, over the past many, many years. Now we're in a very different interest rate environment right now. obviously you can get easy money. You can get 5% on your money just, putting it over here, over there. You got to understand, like many of these high-tech startups, they get money from very wealthy people. Okay, very wealthy people usually, multimillionaires, people with $50 million net worths, $100 million net worths, multi-billion-dollar net worths. Okay, now the thing that's very important in this, why it matters so significantly, is a lot of those super higher net worth folks are concerned about many various factors, including where the economy is going to be headed, where policy could be headed. We know government deficits are out of control. Like, what does that mean for taxation? Are we going to have some major tax changes coming, right? And when you're talking about interest rates that were near zero for like 15 years, right? And then you're talking about Fed funds rate 5% plus and could be there for a bit here. People get concerned, right? And ultimately that kind of, I guess you can say kind of bleeds down over time, and it becomes a more serious situation for potentially the economy if you stop having that level of innovation really coming out of a lot of those startups and things like that. Now, this also can mean that many of the bigger companies can kind of just have a monopoly type share out there because they're not having to worry about as many startups coming and this company's going to come eat our lunch, right? Because that's the biggest threat usually to many of these big companies is a smaller company coming along and eating your lunch. And next thing you know, some 22-year-old who's super hungry comes and creates a bigger, better company than what you created, and it causes you to lose a bunch of market share and revenue opportunities and those sorts of things, right? So, all that matters significantly, and it's just a time and day and age we're in right now in this environment. I don't see that really changing anytime soon. If anything, I could see it potentially getting worse when it comes to all that, right? So, anyways, that's my opinion on that. All right, Tesla, my Tesla. Nothing is normal about Tesla, says Gary Black. Let's hear what he has to say about the CFO departure and whatever else he wants to talk about here.
Today, now down 8% in a month. And Tesla had a rather surprise shakeup in the C-suite. Tesla CFO Zach Kirkhorn is stepping down. Tesla's chief accounting officer has been appointed to replace him. Kirkhorn, not just a CFO, by some seen as a possible successor to Elon Musk himself. Now, moments ago, Musk posted this message on X, formerly known as Twitter. He thanked Kirkhorn for getting Tesla through 13 often difficult years, much appreciated, and best wishes for the next stage of his career.
What?
But should that move matter for all of you Tesla investors out there? Joining us now is a widely followed Tesla watcher, Gary Black.
All right, you guys should still be able to hear me, but I don't know what happened with my camera, man. Let's see, add camera. Let's see what happens here. Let's see. This should be interesting. What camera is it going to go to? It better not go to the living room camera. Come on to this camera, baby. What's going to happen? Come on. Seriously? What does this do? What in the world? Whoa! Hey! Hey! Welcome to the party, pal. All right, let's get into this.
Future fund managing partner and co-founder. Gary, big headline. Stock moved a little bit today. Do you care about the CFO leaving?
Normally, markets care when a CFO leaves. I think, nothing is ever normal at Tesla. And you could say this was not a normal, I don't know if it's a resignation or what, but the market didn't seem to care, shook it off. I'm not that bothered by it. I think, look, it's probably some sort of personal decision. And the way I bet this played out is Zach probably went to Elon a couple months ago. He's made a fortune at Tesla. Some estimates are over $100 million. And he probably said, it's time for me to move on. Elon
Sounds somewhat similar to my take. Interesting.
probably said, hey,
You guys see my Tesla video earlier from the main channel, right? Oh my gosh.
I should reconsider. Zach probably reconsidered and said, no, it's time for me to move on. And Elon said, bye. Because, I think the thing that rattled people, at least initially today, it was sudden. Usually with a resignation that's amicable, there's usually a 3 to 6 month, transition. Here, he's gone effective immediately. Yeah, he's going to continue to support Tesla, but for all intents and purposes, he's left the building. So I'm not that bothered by it. I think that the timing is a little bit different, but again, nothing about Tesla is normal. So I'm not going to get too worked up about it.
Yeah, I guess the question, we'd like to probably know more. I'm guessing you would. You're an investor. I'm not. Into why. You kind of speculated, but we don't know. It's got to be one of the hardest CFO jobs probably out there, especially working for Elon Musk in this kind of an industry. But would you like to know a little more?
Sure. And look, I don't think it has anything to do with either product or pricing strategy. That's all been well telegraphed. And it is something that's a little bit perplexing, but I would bet that when it's all said and done, it's going to turn out that it was a personal decision. Again, he's made a lot of money over the last 13 years. He probably wanted to take a step back. I mean, if I'd made that much money, I don't know if I'd still want to be working 24/7 for somebody as tough as Elon Musk. And then you throw in that, look, Tom Zhu has been, I don't want to say anointed, but he's widely viewed as somebody who would step in if Elon were to get hit by the proverbial bus. I think to run Tesla, you got to have that engineering background. And Zach has a technical background, but he's not been an engineer. He's not viewed as a product guy. And I think you got to be a product guy or girl, but mostly product guy to run Tesla. And my bet is, Zach probably was not going to make that leap.
Mostly a guy. What's that supposed to mean, Gary Black? Okay, my opinion perspective. So you guys know my bigger opinion and perspective if you watch the main channel video today in regards to good old Tesla Tesla, right? But let me dive into one thing here that they didn't speak on, right? Which is Zach could have been a successor to Elon Musk as CEO of the company. I don't really see that. No, it really needs to be. It really needs to be a product-first individual who's really got that Tesla DNA. It could come from somebody a little lower down the ranks, in terms of the team and whatnot. Honestly, at this point in time, it could even be like, let's say Elon was to say, you know what, I don't want to be the CEO of Tesla anymore. I could even see it being somebody that really has their stuff together and is really focused on AI and robotics, to be quite honest. I could see an individual like that, because if you really think about where the future of Tesla's going, it's really around AI. It's really about machine learning, robotics, those sorts of things, right? And, like the auto plan is already done at this point in time, right? We got all the vehicles in the market. I'm sure they already have created the next mass market vehicle out there. Cybertruck's coming to market. That the next 10 years of these things, right? That's done. Like we got this next 10 years on lock. The next big, let's call it accomplishments, really come around self-driving, robo-taxi opportunity, the bot, if we go that route, right? And so many other various things right around that. So that's kind of my opinions, perspectives. Thanks so much for being subscribed, folks. I appreciate y'all. Much love and have a great day. Check out pinned comment down there for my free workshop. You get a lot of value out of that. I'll send it over. Peace.